27 years of dedication, countless nights sleeping on the office floor, and I was tossed aside for a kid who thought JavaScript was a coffee brand. They assumed I'd pack up quietly, fade into retirement like obsolete hardware. What they didn't know? Buried in contracts Dominic Scott signed during our darkest crisis was a clause giving me control of $600 million in intellectual property, 52 patents, now legally mine. My name is Jasper Ford. I built Fusion Dynamics from a garage startup into a tech powerhouse, and now they were about to learn the hardest lesson of their lives. The oak conference table felt cold under my palms as I watched Dominic avoid eye contact. The man whose company I'd saved from collapse a dozen times couldn't even look at me. Board members shuffled papers, checked watches, stared at the ceiling, anywhere but at the architect of their entire digital backbone. "Jasper," Dominic finally said, voice dripping with rehearsed sympathy, "you've been instrumental. 27 years of exceptional service." Exceptional service? My life, reduced to corporate jargon. "But," he continued, the word that erases everything before it, "we're implementing a strategic reorganization. The board wants innovative thinking and systems. Effective immediately, your role goes to Connor Scott." Connor, his 23-year-old son, fresh from an MBA mill that sold degrees to trust fund kids. He sat across from me smirking, wearing a suit that cost more than my monthly salary. I'd bet my severance he couldn't configure a router if his inheritance depended on it. This was their innovation. I kept my face neutral. Emotion is weakness in these rooms, but inside, my mind was already calculating revenge. "What are the terms?" I asked, steady. Dominic slid over a manila envelope. "Standard package, 3 weeks per year served, plus a non-compete." "I'll have my attorney review it," I said, standing. The room exhaled in relief, grateful I wasn't making a scene. They had no idea what was coming. Connor stood, hand outstretched with the confidence of someone who'd never failed. "No hard feelings, right? Just business." I looked him in the eye. "Of course. Just business." The elevator ride down felt surreal. 27 years of memories in these walls, product launches saved by my code, system crashes only I could fix, holidays missed, weekends lost. This place had become more home than home. In the lobby, Emma from HR passed me, stunned. Word would spread fast. Jasper Ford, the man who built their tech foundation, replaced by the CEO's unqualified son. My phone buzzed, a LinkedIn alert. Excited to announce my new role as Chief Systems Architect at Fusion Dynamics, ready to revolutionize enterprise solutions. Tech leadership, innovation. The arrogant fool hadn't even waited for me to clear security. Back at my desk, I packed slowly. My daughter's graduation photo missed because of a server meltdown in Singapore. The mug from our first big client win. The framed certificates for all 52 patents bearing my name. My hand paused on the last frame. A cold smile crossed my face. Dominic had grown careless, too trusting of my competence, too eager to sign anything during a crisis. Like 2 years ago, when our Asia-Pacific ops nearly collapsed. At 3:47 a.m., exhausted and desperate, he'd signed emergency licensing docs I'd prepared, without reading past page 1. Buried on page 53 was a clause. If the principal systems architect is terminated without documented cause, all patents revert to the original inventor. They never defined without cause, never imagined they'd need to. As the elevator doors closed for the last time, I wasn't their employee anymore. I was their executioner. That evening, bourbon untouched beside me, I let the anger rise. 27 years poured into Dominic's dream while mine evaporated. I remembered day 1. 8. People in a warehouse, Dominic promising we'd change the world. I was 28, brilliant, hungry, foolish enough to believe loyalty mattered. I wrote our core code on museum-worthy hardware. I remembered Catherine leaving, divorce papers on the counter at midnight. I'm tired of being a widow to a living man. I'd promised anniversary dinner. Instead, a system crash kept me at the office for 36 hours straight. It wasn't the first broken promise, just the last she'd accept. I chose fusion over my marriage. Dominic called it family, some family. Then came the night that sealed my fate. January, blizzard conditions, European infrastructure down, 600 million in transactions frozen, partners threatening lawsuits. Dominic called at 2:23 a.m., voice shaking. Jasper, we're dead. The board's filing for bankruptcy. I drove through whiteout warnings. For 68 hours, I ran on coffee and adrenaline, rewriting protocols, rerouting traffic through Tokyo servers, never meant. For that load, negotiating in languages I barely knew. When those system status indicators finally turned green, Dominic broke down. He gripped my shoulders and swore I'd saved everything. That's when I drafted the new licensing agreements, ostensibly to protect our patents from industrial espionage. Relieved and trusting, he signed without reading a word. The board rubber-stamped it within hours. Except I'd added one extra paragraph, buried deep. It looked like standard severance language, designed to prevent brain drain. But this one had teeth. I opened my laptop and pulled up the folder I'd kept for 2 years. Every signed document, every patent registration with my name, every licensing agreement tied to those 52 innovations, the core of Fusion's architecture and predictive analytics engine. 600 million of their intellectual property handed to me in a termination letter. My phone lit up. Leo. Just heard. This is insane. Connor can't even spell protocol. Dominic's lost his mind. Rachel. Jasper, please say you have a plan. Connor just asked what the cloud is made of. I think he expected cotton. Andrew. We need to talk. I remember those emergency contracts. Does Dominic? I smiled. The first real one since the boardroom. No. Dominic didn't remember. He'd moved on to the next victory, blind to the fact he'd signed away his empire's foundation. I typed back. Conference call tomorrow, 9 a.m., personal devices only. Bring Leo and Rachel. The bourbon caught the lamplight as I finally took a sip. Dominic thought he'd discarded obsolete hardware. He was about to learn some parts are load-bearing. Remove them, and the whole structure collapses. You want to play corporate hardball? I thought, gazing at the city. Let's see how you handle a game you've already lost. The war had begun, and I held every winning card. The call connected at 9:00 a.m. sharp. Leo in his diagram-covered office, Rachel in her garage. Workshop. Andrew in his car outside a coffee shop. First things first, Andrew said, adjusting his glasses. Your termination was classified as organizational restructuring, not performance-based. That triggers the patent reversion clause. As of yesterday, you legally own all 52 patents. All of them? Rachel asked, eyes wide. Everyone, roughly 600 million in licensing value. Dominic doesn't know yet. There's a 30-day disclosure window before it hits the board. I leaned back. Plenty of time to let them destroy themselves. Better yet, Andrew added, you still have system access. Connor was supposed to revoke your credentials, but apparently doesn't know how. I'm active in 14 critical systems, I confirmed, but I won't sabotage anything. I'll just let every system run exactly as documented. No more emergency fixes, no more undocumented shortcuts, no more saving their incompetent asses. Leo grinned. What about no? You need from us? Information and perfect compliance with every rule and protocol. The plan unfolded like clean code. No laws broken, no contracts violated. We'd simply stop being the invisible safety net that had held Fusion together for years. Reality hit within 4 days. Tech source in South Korea called Connor at 7 a.m. Seoul time. He didn't answer. Per protocol, they halted a 60-milliliter shipment. No biometric verification from the registered architect. Me. No go. This is ridiculous, Connor yelled at Leo. Just call them and fix it. I can't, Leo replied calmly. It requires your biometrics. Good luck. Next, the Australian data center locked down. No weekly security clearance from me, no client data access. Why wasn't this documented? Connor demanded. Rachel shrugged. Jasper's system. He managed it. The masterpiece? Brazil. Daily verifications I'd done quietly at 5:30 a.m. for 4 years. Never automated, never formalized. 4 days missed, and shipping costs quadrupled. Andrew messaged, Connor just told it to restart the internet. Leo. He tried to pay TechSource without docs. They're threatening to terminate the contract. I watched error alerts flood my screen. Each one a problem I could have fixed in minutes. Problems I'd solved silently for years while Dominic took the credit and the bonuses. Not anymore. My phone rang. Dominic's personal number. I let it go to voicemail, then again, and again. Finally, a text. Jasper, we're experiencing some technical difficulties. Perhaps we could discuss a consulting arrangement. Consulting arrangement? After 27 years, he wanted to hire me as a consultant to clean up his son's mess. I texted back, my consulting rate is $45,000 per day, minimum 30-day contract paid in advance. The typing indicator appeared and disappeared repeatedly. Finally, that's extortion. That's business, I replied. Ask your son. Leo called that. Evening, barely containing his laughter. You should have seen the all-staff meeting. Connor tried to explain the situation using slides that were obviously AI-generated. He said, synergistic optimization 23 times. People were literally counting. Any resignations? 5 today. 2 senior developers and 3 project managers, all cited leadership concerns in their exit interviews. The seeds were planted. Now I just had to watch them grow into a forest of chaos. Week 2 of Connor's reign brought catastrophic failures. The emergency board meeting happened on Monday at 6 a.m. Through my network, I heard every excruciating detail. Connor stood at the conference room head, his expensive suit rumpled, exhaustion evident in his face, attempting to explain why 4 major contracts were in jeopardy. The infrastructure is experiencing some legacy technical debt, he stammered, clicking through nonsensical slides. We need to implement a comprehensive synergy realignment. Board member Olivia Chen interrupted. Can you explain specifically what's failing? Connor's face reddened. The server architecture is encountering suboptimal performance metrics due to outdated authentication frameworks. Rachel told me later she'd had to fake a coughing fit to hide her laughter. Connor was just combining buzzwords, hoping they'd form coherent sentences. Where's the documentation for these systems? Another board member demanded. We're compiling it, Connor said weakly. The truth was, I'd kept most critical documentation in my head. Not maliciously. It was simply faster to fix things myself than write manuals nobody would read. Dominic had actually encouraged this, called it efficiency. Now that efficiency was their noose. By Wednesday, their internal communication channels were pure chaos. Someone leaked screenshots to me. Does anyone know how to access the Sol server cluster? Why are all automated reports returning errors? Urgent client, demanding explanation for 3-day delayed data migration. Connor just asked what bandwidth means. I'm not kidding. 7 more people resigned that week, including a senior architect who'd been there 12 years. His departure email was brutal. I cannot continue under leadership that doesn't understand fundamental technology principles. But the real disaster struck Thursday afternoon. Connor had decided to prove himself by leading a client presentation for a $40 million contract with Cresthaven Financial. Leo, forced to attend, gave me the complete breakdown. So your proprietary system utilizes quantum encryption? The Cresthaven CTO asked. Absolutely, Connor said confidently. The most advanced quantum encryption available. Leo's face had gone pale. Our system didn't use quantum encryption. It used an entirely different architecture I'd designed specifically because quantum encryption wasn't viable for our application. Can you detail the qubit configuration? The CTO pressed. Connor panicked. That's proprietary information, confidential. The Cresthaven team exchanged glances. Their CTO pulled up his laptop. Interesting. Because Jasper Ford published a white paper 2 years ago explaining precisely why quantum encryption wouldn't work for this application. Are you saying he was wrong? The silence was deafening. He wasn't fully aware of our capabilities, Connor tried. The CTO closed his laptop. We'll be in touch. They never called back. Dominic was unraveling. Andrew reported seeing him in the building at midnight, screaming into his phone. The board demanded answers. Stock analysts began questioning the unusual operational disruptions. Friday brought the crescendo. An anonymous post appeared on Glassdoor that went viral within hours. CEO's son-destroying company from within, the collapse of Fusion Dynamics. The post detailed Connor's incompetence with surgical precision, every bungled meeting, every misunderstood technical concept, every failed attempt to grasp basic systems. But the most damaging comparison was the conclusion: in 3 weeks, Connor Scott has destroyed what Jasper Ford spent 27 years building. The comments exploded. Former employees, current employees using anonymous accounts, even some clients. The hashtag #TryToBringBackJasper started trending regionally. "This is sabotage," Dominic roared in an emergency meeting that afternoon, his face purple. "Someone is deliberately undermining this company." "No," a voice called from the back. It was James Martinez from Quality Assurance, 2 months from retirement with nothing to lose. "Someone was deliberately holding this company together, and you fired him." The room erupted. People who'd been silent for years suddenly found their voices. The meeting dissolved into chaos as Dominic stormed out, Connor trailing behind like a lost child. That evening, I received a call from an unlisted number. "Mr. Ford, this is Jonathan Pierce from Pierce. Executive recruitment. We've been monitoring the situation at Fusion with great interest. Several clients would like to discuss opportunities." "I'm under a non-compete," I said, though my smile came through in my voice. "For employment, yes, but not for consulting, and certainly not for licensing intellectual property you personally own." The patent reversion clause. Word was spreading. "I'm listening," I said. As we talked, my laptop pinged with another system alert from Fusion, another critical failure Connor couldn't resolve, another fire he couldn't extinguish. Each notification was a small victory, a tiny vindication for 27 years of being taken for granted. But the real firestorm was still coming. In 8 days, the 30-day disclosure period would end, and Dominic would learn exactly what he'd signed away when he chose nepotism over loyalty. The empire wasn't just cracking, it was crumbling. And Connor stood in the ruins, holding equipment he didn't understand, wearing a title he couldn't comprehend, drowning in responsibilities he'd never earned. I hadn't even played my final card yet. The leak happened at 10:47 p.m. on a Sunday night. Andrew called immediately, his voice shaking with excitement. "Jasper, someone just forwarded the complete patent reversion documentation. Every signature, every clause, everything. It's spreading like wildfire." "Who leaked it?" I asked, though I had my suspicions. "No idea. Encrypted source. But it's already on Reddit, Hacker News, and someone just posted it on LinkedIn, tagging every major tech journalist." I opened my laptop and watched the internet explode. The first headline appeared on TechCrunch within 40 minutes. "Breaking. Fusion Dynamics may have lost $600 in patents due to CEO's contract oversight." Then, Bloomberg. "Fusion stock futures drop as patent crisis emerges." CNBC. "The most expensive nepotism hire in tech, how Fusion's CEO gave away everything." The Wall Street Journal was merciless. "Nepotism's price, $600 million and counting at Fusion Dynamics." By morning, FusionGate was trending worldwide. Tech Twitter exploded. Someone created a meme of Dominic's face on the Titanic with the caption, "I'm sure my son can steer." Another showed Connor's LinkedIn profile, with managed $600 loss in first month added to his achievements. Dominic called an emergency press conference at 1 p.m. I watched it live, Leo texting me commentary from inside the building. Dominic stood at the podium, attempting confidence, but his hands trembled visibly. "The reports about our patent situation have been exaggerated. Fusion maintains full control of all intellectual property." A reporter immediately challenged him. "Mr. Scott, we've reviewed the signed documents. Can you explain how you maintain control when the contracts explicitly state patents revert to Jasper Ford?" That's a misinterpretation," Dominic stammered. "It seems quite clear," another reporter pressed. "It literally states, all patents shall revert to the original inventor if the principal systems architect is terminated without documented cause." "Did you read this before signing?" Dominic's face flushed. "I don't discuss internal contract specifics." "Is it true your son has no technical qualifications?" someone shouted. "Connor is highly qualified." "His resume shows a marketing degree," the reporter interrupted. "How does that qualify him to manage complex technical systems?" The press conference collapsed into chaos. Dominic fled after 11 minutes, leaving his PR team scrambling. The stock market's reaction was immediate and brutal. Fusion opened down 27%. By close, it had dropped 38%. The board was in full panic mode. An anonymous employee created a website, savefusion.com. It contained one simple message: bring back Jasper Ford or watch us burn. Within 8 hours, it had collected 35,000 signatures from employees, clients, and shareholders. My phone rang constantly. Journalists, recruiters, competitors. Everyone wanted to talk. I ignored them all except one. "Mr. Ford, this is Amanda Morrison from the Financial Times. I'd like an exclusive interview about your time at Fusion and the patent situation." "I'm listening," I said. "We've verified the documents. You own those patents free and clear as of your termination. What are your plans?" I chose my words carefully. I spent 27 years building something meaningful. I'm exploring options to ensure that innovation continues, whether at Fusion or elsewhere. "Are you willing to negotiate with Fusion?" "They haven't made any serious offer." "Would you return if asked?" "Not under current leadership." The quote was online within minutes. Jasper Ford, not under current leadership. 4 words that could destroy a CEO. Internal chaos at Fusion reached new heights. Leo sent screenshots. Urgent, 4 more clients threatening to pull contracts. Korean supplier officially terminated. Partnership. Board meeting scheduled tomorrow at 5 a.m. Did Connor really send a company-wide email in Comic Sans? Update. Connor's email crashed the mail server. Can't fix it. Jasper designed the system. Then came the video that broke the internet. Someone had recorded Connor at a bar Friday night, drunk and ranting. "Doesn't matter," he slurred. "Dad will fix everything. He always does. That old guy thought he was irreplaceable. Now he's nothing, nobody, and I'm running the show." The video hit 5 million views in 6 hours. Old guy trended nationwide, with people posting pictures of successful older professionals pushed out by incompetent younger replacements. Dominic attempted damage control with an internal memo that immediately leaked. "We are exploring all options to resolve the current situation. Connor Scott is taking a temporary leave of absence for professional development." Professional development. Code for, "We're hiding him until this blows over." But it wasn't. Blowing over. The Financial Times published my interview with the headline, "The man who holds 600 million in hostage patents speaks out." By market close, Fusion had lost 51% of its value. That was 350 million in market cap, evaporated in one day. Andrew texted, "Legal department in chaos. Dominic just fired 2 lawyers for failing to protect the company. The remaining team is demanding liability insurance before they'll continue." Leo added, "Suppliers demanding payment up front now. Our credit rating just got downgraded." Rachel sent one word: beautiful. As I sat in my apartment that night, watching the city lights, I felt something I hadn't experienced in decades. Power. Real power, not from a title or corner office, but from being genuinely irreplaceable. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I opened it and laughed out loud. It was from Dominic. "Please, just one word." The mighty CEO reduced to begging. I didn't respond. The market would open in 11 hours, and Fusion's death spiral was just beginning. The emergency board meeting was scheduled for 5 a.m. Tuesday. I wasn't there, but Andrew was, his phone recording in his jacket pocket. The boardroom was a war zone. Olivia Chen, lead independent director, slammed documents on the table before Dominic could speak. $600 million, Dominic. $600 million in patents you signed away because you didn't read a contract while replacing the person who'd saved this company repeatedly. Olivia, I'm not finished. Her voice could cut glass. We've had 23 emergency calls from shareholders. The SEC is investigating, and your son has become a laughingstock that's destroyed our reputation. Board member Richard Stone pulled up his tablet. I've reviewed the original contract. Page 53, Section 12, subsection D. It's airtight. Legal confirmed Jasper Ford owns every patent he developed. We can't use our own technology without his permission. We can challenge it. In court, Dominic said desperately. On what grounds? Olivia laughed bitterly. You signed it. You authorized it. You probably thanked him while signing away our entire technological foundation. Andrew later told me that Harrison Blake, general counsel, stood up at this point. I need to inform the board. I've reviewed all contracts from the past 5 years. This isn't the only protection like this. Mr. Ford embedded similar provisions in 9 other agreements. If we challenge one, we risk triggering them all. The room went silent. He knew, board member Catherine Lloyd said quietly. He knew this day would come. He protected himself because he knew Dominic would eventually betray him. That's absurd, Dominic started. Is it? Catherine pulled up her phone. Your son's drunk video has 12 million views. That old guy thought he was irreplaceable. Well, guess what? He was. He is. Richard Stone leaned forward. I move for a vote of no confidence in Dominic Scott as CEO. You can't do this, Dominic shouted, standing so fast his chair toppled. I built this company. No, Olivia said quietly. You built a shell. Jasper Ford built the engine that made it run, and you threw him away for nepotism. The vote was scheduled for Thursday, giving Dominic 48 hours to find a solution. He tried everything. First, lawyers appeared at my apartment building with an offer, $8 million for the patents. I didn't let them pass the lobby. Then came emotional manipulation. He sent Barbara Chen, my former assistant, approaching retirement, to plead. Mr. Scott says the company will collapse without those patents. People will lose their jobs. People are already losing their jobs, Barbara, I told her gently, because Dominic chose his son over 250 employees who depend on competent leadership. Wednesday brought desperate measures. Dominic appeared on CNBC, attempting to control the narrative. This is a misunderstanding blown out of proportion, he told the anchor. Jasper Ford was valued, but no single person is worth $600 million. The anchor pulled up a chart. But according to your SEC filings, the patents in question form your core technology stack. Analysts say without them, fusion is essentially worthless. That's exaggerated. Is it? Your stock is down 58% in 4 days. You've lost 9 major clients. Your credit rating is junk status. How's that exaggerated? Dominic's face reddened. Jasper Ford is holding this company hostage. It's corporate terrorism. The anchor raised an eyebrow. He's exercising a contract you signed. Did you read it? Of course I read it. Then you knew this could happen? Dominic stammered, unable to answer. The interview went viral immediately, spawning memes of Dominic's confused expression with captions like, I've made a huge mistake. That evening, the most devastating blow came from Connor himself, posting on LinkedIn. I want to apologize to everyone at Fusion Dynamics. My appointment was a mistake. I wasn't qualified, and I let ego blind me. Jasper Ford deserved better. The company deserved better. I'm stepping down effective immediately. Leo texted, Holy hell, did you see this? It was damage control, obviously PR written, but too late. At 8:47 p.m., Harrison Blake called me personally. Jasper, I'll be direct. The board is voting Dominic out tomorrow. We need those patents back. Name your price. It's not about money, I said. Then what? I want Dominic's resignation letter to explicitly state I was terminated without cause to make way for his unqualified son. I want a public apology, and I want my contributions to Fusion publicly documented. That would destroy him. He destroyed himself when he chose nepotism over merit. Long pause. I'll present it to the board. At 11:23 p.m., I received an encrypted email from an anonymous sender. A single document, Dominic's draft resignation letter. It contained everything I'd demanded. An admission of wrongdoing, an acknowledgement of my 27 years. A confession that nepotism had clouded his judgment. At the bottom, a handwritten note scanned in. You win. D. I stared at those 2 words, 27 years, and it came down to this. But I didn't feel victorious. I felt empty. Then my phone buzzed. Text from Leo. Emergency board meeting moved to tomorrow 6 a.m. They want to discuss Fusion's future. Your name is on the agenda. The final act was about to begin. Thursday morning, 6:00 a.m., the death of an empire. I wasn't in that boardroom, but Andrew's hidden phone captured everything. Board members filed in like mourners at a funeral. Dominic's chair sat empty. Olivia Chen called the meeting to order. Dominic Scott has submitted his resignation, effective immediately. The vote was unanimous. Now, Olivia continued, we need to discuss survival. Without those patents, we're a shell. Our technology is worthless. Our contracts are void. We're facing bankruptcy within 25 days. Harrison Blake cleared his throat. I've communicated with Mr. Ford. He's willing to discuss terms, but his conditions are severe. How severe? Richard asked. He wants Dominic's resignation made public with full disclosure of why he was terminated. He wants a public apology from this board, and he wants his contributions documented in SEC filings. That triggers shareholder lawsuits, Catherine pointed out. We're facing those regardless, Harrison replied. At least this way, we might survive. Silence. Then Olivia spoke. What if we offered him the CEO position? The suggestion hung in the air. He'd never accept, someone said, not after what we did. We have to try, Olivia insisted. He's the only person who understands these systems. He built them. They voted to make the offer. I declined within 30 minutes. By noon, every major outlet had the story. Dominic Scott resigns in disgrace as Fusion Dynamics collapses. The resignation letter, somehow leaked to the press, was brutal in its honesty. Dominic admitted to terminating me without cause, to promoting his unqualified son, to ignoring 27 years of dedication for nepotism. The stock market's response was swift. Fusion dropped another 18%. Trading was halted twice. The company had lost 71% of its value since my firing. But the real carnage was internal. Leo sent updates. Mass exodus, 37 resignations this morning. Clients officially pulling out. IBM just terminated their contract. Security is escorting Dominic out now. He's actually crying. The image of Dominic being escorted out went viral. Someone filmed it from the lobby. The once powerful CEO reduced to carrying a box of belongings, tears streaming, security flanking him. The internet was merciless. By 2 p.m., the parking lot was filled with news vans. Employees were interviewed as they left, many carrying boxes. Jasper Ford built this place, one engineer told CNN. Dominic Scott just took credit. The Wall Street Journal published a devastating exposé that evening. The 27-year con, how Dominic Scott built an empire on Jasper Ford's genius. The article detailed every innovation I'd created, every crisis I'd solved, every sacrifice I'd made while Dominic played golf with investors. Former employees came forward with stories of Dominic taking credit for my work, dismissing my ideas in meetings only to present them as his own later. Dr. Rachel Kim was quoted, Jasper wrote 85% of our core architecture. Dominic couldn't code Hello World if his life depended on it. Friday morning brought the final blow. Fusion Dynamics filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection at 8:34 a.m. The filing revealed the complete disaster. $600 million in lost patent value, $280 million in terminated contracts, $190 million in pending shareholder lawsuits. The petition specifically stated, loss of critical intellectual property due to executive mismanagement has made continuation of operations impossible. My phone rang constantly. Competitors wanting to hire me, investors wanting to fund my next venture, journalists wanting my story. I ignored them all. Instead, I sat watching news coverage. Every channel showed the same story, the most expensive nepotism hire in corporate history. Connor had deleted all social media. Someone spotted him at a coffee shop and he literally ran from cameras, stumbling over his own feet. That video became another viral moment. Dominic had vanished. Rumors said he'd left the country. His wife filed for divorce. The last email I received that day was from Olivia Chen. Mr. Ford, the board of directors wishes to formally apologize for the treatment you received. Your 27 years of service deserved better than what Dominic Scott gave you. We failed in our oversight, and we failed you. Fusion Dynamics is finished. The bankruptcy court will liquidate our assets within 30 days. 250 people will lose their jobs because of one man's ego and our complicity in enabling it. You were right to protect yourself, you were right to fight back, and you were right to let us fall. The patents are yours. Whatever you build next, I hope it's on a foundation of the respect and recognition you always deserved. With deepest regrets, Olivia Chen, former chairwoman, Fusion Dynamics. I read it twice, then deleted it. Outside my window, the city glittered in the twilight, indifferent to the fact that a billion-dollar company had just collapsed into dust. Somewhere out there, Dominic Scott was learning what it felt like to lose everything. Somewhere, Connor was discovering that Daddy couldn't fix this one. And somewhere, 250 employees were updating their resumes, victims of a war between pride and competence, where pride had fired the first shot and competence had dropped the nuclear response. The empire hadn't just fallen, it had been obliterated, leaving nothing but ashes and a cautionary tale about the price of betrayal. 6 weeks later, I stood on my balcony watching the sunset gild the city in gold and amber. In my hand, a glass of Pappy Van Winkle 23-year bourbon, a $4,000 bottle bought with my first patent licensing check. The irony was perfect. The very patents Dominic had tossed away were now earning more in weeks than I'd made in 27 years at Fusion. Microsoft paid $35 million for 4 of them. Amazon wanted 6 more. A bidding war raged over my predictive analytics platform, the one I'd built during endless nights no one ever thanked me for. My phone buzzed, another message I wouldn't answer. Dominic had been texting from burner numbers for weeks. "Please, Jasper, I've lost everything. My wife took it all. I'm in a motel, I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. You've destroyed me. Are you satisfied?" Was I? I took a sip and thought about the bankruptcy auction 2 weeks prior. I'd watched from the back as Fusion's remains were sold off. Office chairs for pennies, the building lease canceled, even their proud Phoenix logo fetching $300 as a novelty. Dominic's massive oak desk, the throne of his ego, went for $50. I almost bought it for the symbolism, then decided I didn't need relics of the past. Connor? Now working at a car rental counter in Newark, wearing a polo shirt and asking customers if they want insurance. The internet dubbed it "from CTO to see you later." But the 250 employees who lost their jobs, most landed well, thanks to quiet calls I made. Leo became CTO at a hot Series B startup. Rachel joined SpaceX. Andrew launched his own IP law firm. He jokingly calls it the Ford Clause. Even Barbara found a role that valued her experience. She sent flowers with a note. "Thank you for proving experience beats privilege." Dominic? Nothing left. Divorce stripped his assets. Lawsuits drained his savings. Shame erased his name. He's trying to start a consulting firm, but no one hires. The man who became corporate cautionary tale number 1. Another chime. Another company wanting to license my patents. Another few million added to the pile. I'd already earned more in 6 weeks than in nearly 3 decades at Fusion. But the real victory wasn't the money. It was the truth finally being told. The New York Times ran a profile, the man who was worth $600 million. They detailed the sacrifices, the missed holidays, the broken marriage, the innovations I built while Dominic took bows. Former colleagues all said the same thing. Jasper Ford was Fusion Dynamics. My phone rang. Olivia Chen. Dominic reached out, she said. He's desperate, wants to buy back the patents, offered a 50-50 partnership, him on business, you on tech. I laughed. He has nothing to buy them with. He knows he just wants a second chance. Olivia, I said, gazing at the city lights flickering on. He had 27 years to make me a partner. He chose to make me a servant. Instead, that offer expired the day he picked his son over me. A pause. Then softly, "We all saw your worth. We just never had the courage to say it until it was too late." After she hung up, I stayed on the balcony, watching the city breathe below, new companies rising, new mistakes unfolding. And somewhere, Dominic Scott was learning what it felt like to be discarded. One last buzz. A text from an unknown number. "Mr. Ford, I'm a 29-year-old systems architect. Thank you for showing us we don't have to accept being undervalued. You've inspired thousands of us to know our worth and demand it. You're our hero." I smiled. A real one. Maybe that was the true victory. Not the revenge, not the money, but proving to every overlooked professional that their knowledge has power, that loyalty must be mutual, and that contracts can be armor. I raised my glass to the skyline, to the future, to the patents in my safe that changed everything. Here's to knowing your worth, and to the men who learned too late they should have valued it. The bourbon tasted like vindication, and for the first time in 27 years, I felt truly, completely free. Thanks for listening to my story of corporate revenge and cold justice. If it resonated, drop a comment. Where are you listening from? Have you faced workplace betrayal? How did you respond? Subscribe and join the conversation.